stand for a prayer and a pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, we just praise you for a new day. We thank you for a chance to gather here and discuss a somewhat detailed process. We just ask for your guidance in establishing a set of regulations that will serve well the citizens of Titus County and those who wish to develop it. I want to make a special request, Lord, that you be with Jimmy Parker today while he is having surgery out of town, and just ask that the robotic process will go flawlessly and that his recovery will be rapid and the job will be done exactly as the way that they had planned, and that this will take care of him for a long time to come. Just be with his family and just guard and guide them through this process. We just ask now that you preside over our meeting. In Christ's name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'm going to kind of turn it over to Commissioner Riddle here in just a minute. I think he's been handling most of this, but I guess a couple of things that I will say. I had received a copy of the document that I now learned is a set of regulations from Hopkins County. And as I was reading through all 30 pages of that yesterday and making all my notes, I was going, my gosh, we thought that that first set was detailed. I said, what was Al thinking? Because I thought he had put that together. And I'm going, he had a whole team of people working with him on this one, and we've ended up with something that it scares me. So I'm glad to find out the nature of that document. What I did, and I was going through that document, and I was kind of comparing it back to the letter that we had gotten from Walt Sears back after we submitted to him, Judy, your first submission. And so I want to kind of review the points in here just so that we have on our mind. These are things that if we want to achieve the objective of having a set of minimal subdivision regulations that will allow our area to qualify for that EDAP money, which is very, very short in Northeast Texas, and we would like to be able to get Northeast Texas more qualified to receive some of those millions of dollars that they are giving out. And so let me just remind you of kind of the high points or the highlights from Walt's letter that we know we're going to have in here. And that is on the second page of Walt's letter, he itemizes 6 things. Utility service within the subdivision. In other words, we've got to be specific that any subdivision that we're talking about, specifically commercial and residential, I won't even get into those fringe projects like hunt camps and families that are dividing land among the kids. I'm talking about a true subdivision where we are trying to establish a set of standards that we want our developers to abide by that will ultimately result in better quality of life for those residents as well as better quality of life for all citizens. So provisions for utility service within the subdivision, provisions assuring that the water supply is approved prior to any sale of lots. And again, that can be a utility that brings that water. It could be well water. Item number 3, a suitable plan for sewage disposal. And again, are you tapping into an existing sewer system, or are you going to provide on-site sewage? Number 4, requiring that the plat has a report from a licensed engineer that adequately addresses both the water supply and the wastewater needs. Number 5, provisions that assure adequate drainage in the subdivision. And provisions, lastly, that requires only one single-family dwelling per lot. So those are 6 of the key points that we need to keep in mind. And that doesn't mean that just if we barely satisfy those 6 that we've got an adequate set of regulations, because as commissioners, you all want to be sure that the roads are done right, Of course, you want to ensure that the drainage is done right, but you want to end up with a subdivision that isn't a problem for you, that's bringing you continual complaints, and one that produces, you know, endless years of road problems. So again, those are comments from Walt Sear saying, I need you to address those 6 items if you're going to expect this to meet minimum state standards for EDAP funds. Now, I'll be quiet, and Commissioner Riddle, I'll turn it over to you. You're the one that's put the most time into this here of late, so you direct us as you will.
Well, first of all, I think the purpose for us doing this is to update our subdivision, our old that are in effect right now. And then secondly, if possible, to incorporate changes in the Titus County regulations to include all of the Northeast Texas Municipal Water District's requests. Those are the 6 that you just named off. And then looking at the rules that Walt gave us for the Marsh County, I think that they were lots and lots of things in there extra or not that didn't that we don't need. And I'll turn the phone on. I guess I can turn it down. Sorry. So at that point, there were a lot of issues in the Marsh County that we couldn't. I don't think we should address.
And what are some of the ones, just so we all know what you're referring to, what are the ones that you feel like make that a document that's overly aggressive and is more than we need?
The first thing that comes to mind was the water, making sure that the water is available, but it also goes into great detail that water company, the developer has to furnish water meters for each piece of property. I don't think we should do that. I didn't really highlight them. I have a copy of them somewhere in my bunch here, but I didn't really do it. That's one that pops in my mind right away. There were several things.
So that's something that adds cost to the developer that you don't think should be borne by the developer.
Right, and I think that we should keep in mind, we want development, at least I do, and I think we all do in Titus County. We make it so difficult that, or virtually impossible. I think it would be to our disadvantage, the county, the citizens, the taxpayers. And so I think that keeping that in mind, I think we can accommodate Walt with the 6 things that he brings out, and I think we can do it, and we have to do it because of the road. We need to do it because I'm certain these roads were put in without the right elevation. So I think, but we can do it with Hopkins County has some things in it that we could leave out also. So I've got a copy of ours. I revised them, but Philip says we got to put an attachment for like the elevations and stuff, a little diagram, and then a couple of little things we could put as attachments or put them into our subdivision. Then the biggest thing we got to do to ours on our own is Clint has the EPA, the septic systems and stuff. We don't have a lot of the regulations that we are enforcing now for subdividers, like a perk test. We don't have that in our regulations, but he does that, and that is required by.
What's it called?
Perk. The ground, they test the soil for that. So.
What is that short? Percolation?
Yeah, actually, they don't do a perk test. It's actually now a soil and site evaluation. It's much more detailed than what the perk test was. And you have to classify what types of soil is there. And based on the classification of soil, that will determine what type of on-site systems can go in.
And we'll come back to that. I just wanted clarification on that. Go ahead.
No, that's basically it. I have there's some things in the Hopkins County that I don't particularly think we need, and Clint doesn't either. Like, for instance, you can't go out and change one of the sprinkler heads on your system. You got to get a licensed...
You gotta get a licensed technician.
Right, to do it, and so we think we should, or Clint thinks we should leave that out, and I certainly do it because I do all of my repairs and half the neighbors out there, so
That's one of those, I think it should be an option whether they want to get somebody to come in and do it, or they
Right.
want to do it themselves. I mean, they shouldn't.
they don't have a license, you don't have to have a license. And that's some of the things in the Sulphur Springs, or the Hopkins County, that there's several of those little things that if we go with the Sulphur Springs, but I think we could modify it, and the Titus County. I like the Titus County it's a little more specific, shorter. I think that, but I also like the Hopkins County because it doesn't leave out anything hardly, and we might not be better off trying to put everything in writing. It's going to be arduous about it. If you try to list everything, it's going to be conflicting things, and this is what the guy, Judy says, does it. And then one of the things that they do, a lot of counties do, is they have a professional, when a subdivider comes in, they get a professional person to look at it. They don't leave it up to the commissioners, because I'm not qualified, or, you know what I mean? It's some firm or company that does this. That's Conley. Who was the guy that did these in the beginning? Hamilton?
Dan Hampton.
Who?
Dan.
He was a former surveyor here in town.
Surveyor.
I don't know what y'all called him, what his position was, and y'all will remember, but when Dan was here, he's the one that put the restrictions in place, I think, in 1992. Okay, when I was going through these, I was seeking information. One of the things in the 30-page, when I started off trying to read that sucker, and so every time I ran onto something I didn't know about, I call the county clerk's office because it had a bunch of fees in there, and I didn't think we had those fees, and so I called her, and we don't have those fees. And then I got some things about the surveying, so I called Conley Surveying to ask them, and I told him, my first question to him was, what do you think about Hopkins County's regulations and restrictions? And he said, oh, they're horrible. He said, they're so ambiguous. It takes a lawyer to understand them. He said, there's no way that you can enforce them. He said, they're horrible. And he said, why are y'all doing this? Why can't you just stick with what Dan Hampton did? And he said that in the past, Dan Hampton would check out the plats that came through, and when Dan Hampton retired and Conley bought his equipment and his business, and I was sitting here in county court, and I remember the day it happened, that y'all appointed him and his company to take Dan Hampton's place. And I said, and what was that title? He said, I don't guess we had a title. He said, we were just checking the plats for the commissioners that came through. And he said, and I haven't seen one in 3 or 4 years. He said, what happens with the regime keeps changing with the county clerks, with the county commissioners. He said, and nobody remembers. And I said, okay, so how much were you charging them to check out the plats? He said, we were doing it for free. He said, but nobody sent me any in several years. I called
That's Justin telling you this?
Yes. So
About how long ago was that, just to give me a reference?
I don't know, because I've been coming to Commissioner Court for over 10 years, so I'm not sure. Shortly after Hampton retired, so I'm not.
So it could be 8 years, 8 to 10 years.
Yes,
Okay.
but when county commissioners leave, I don't know that Diane Owens ever did it too. I don't know, but everybody used to send them through. So I called my developer. I've been working with him since 1999. I questioned him about, who he used, how he used, what he did. He said, I just have always relied on Justin and Conley, and I, whatever they told me I had to do, I did. And then Justin told me he can't interpret The Hopkins County ones, he said, would take a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I can't interpret them, and I can't enforce them. And he,
What is his credentials? What is he?
the surveyor.
Licensed professional surveyor.
I don't know who Hopkins County stuff, I was going to guess it was probably done by a professional engineer or a professional sanitarian.
And it is horrible. It is horrible to try to sit there and read those 30 pages you.
Well, I think we're all in agreement. That's overkill.
Well, part of what it does though, water code dictates one thing. The government code dictates something else. Water code does not allow for the exemptions of family property from being subdivided. The government code does. That's what those opinions are. That's what's keeping someone that owns 50 acres that's going to give each one of their kids 5 acres. That's what's keeping them from having to do the subdivision. Is what's written in the government.
In other words, they're saying, now, we've given you all these harsh rules, but here's some exceptions that will apply in situations where it doesn't make sense.
And it reads, I'll read it, reads terrible, and whoever came up with the idea of how they broke it down by having section 1.1.
Oh, my gosh.
That is awful.
I was so mad at him, I thought he'd done all that.
Brian, after we got the letter from Walt Sears, the realtors met again with Walt Sears. And we were going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And finally, I said to Walt, I read your letter where you talked about the differences, and I don't care about the differences. Yeah, they're different. That's why we brought ours up, because we didn't like the one that Morris County had. We brought ours up. I said, and we've got some already that the surveyors are using, that we're working with. I said, I don't care about the differences. I want to know what we have to have in ours to make the state approve and give Tri-Water the grant. And he said, well, the way I see it is there are 3 things you have to do. And he gave them to us, 1, 2, 3. And he said, and you got to delete the punishments. He said, those punishments are no good in there. You got to take those out. He said, you got to have the water addressed, you got to have the sanitary septic systems addressed, and you got to have the drainage. He said, those 3 things.
And the utilities should have been one of his key items.
Well, they're already in ours. I mean, some of the stuff that he pointed out are things that are already in ours.
The version that you brought to me many months ago, back in March, I think, that I sent to Walt that initiated that 3-page letter.
Yes.
What version was that?
That's what we had. I just put them all together. That's
that one that says Titus County Subdivision,
yes,
Article 1.
I just had my secretary type everything we had. In 1992, Dan Hampton put those together for us.
So this document doesn't exist in our records anywhere. You compiled
no, I
this.
provided it. It's what we already have in bits and pieces. He gave us one in 1992.
Hang on a second. We've got 2 tape forms going. If you want to lay yours down there, it sure won't hurt.
Well, I want you out of time to get away from them. He put one together in 1992, and since then, in Commissioner's Court, y'all have done
Bits and pieces.
this, mostly having to do with trailer parks and that type of stuff. So I just took everything that was in the county clerk's information back there that y'all had added to it through the years, and I added it to the one Dan Hampton did in 92. So those are all the things that are already on our books. Those are our existing things. I just put them all in one document for y'all. I didn't do anything else. I just put them all in one document. So we know what we have, what we should be adhering to. But Conley says that all the surveyors have just been going by, what Dan Hampton did in 92, and he says, what's wrong with it?
But whatever Dan did really wasn't formally adopted as a master set where I could get.
Yes, it was. In 1992, Commissioner's Court.
Well, what does it look like? You just said it doesn't look like this.
As far as I know, all that exists on the subdivision is Chapter 7 of our existing on-site.
No. 1992, y'all adopted what Dan Hampton put together.
That's Dan Hampton's document.
It was in a meeting, a Commissioner's Court meeting. And y'all adopted it. Then since then, y'all have added bits and pieces about other things.
Okay, in 92, we really had a major problem in this county because we had subdivisions, we had trailer parks, we had everything. There was no guidance, there was no rules, there was nothing. So people was building $50,000 to $100,000 home in these subdivisions and never got a road. And so we went back and said, if you're going to do a subdivision, you got to at least have this particular type of road. Sewage was a major deal that we had to address, and the legislators passed laws that says, you know, we have to address this problem. So we did. What we were trying to do was not to put so much on the developer that there's no way they could do a development, but at the same time, take care of the needs of the county and of the state of Texas, the laws that we were required to do.
This is what Conley sent me.
That Dan did, and that's how old it is, 23 years.
Yes. And then since then.
Did you type these up, either or both of these?
Also, if you're going to do a subdivision, you got to hand in a plat to the county.
Or is this yours?
No, that's this is probably and now
You can do whatever you want.
change the.
But you and your folks typed this up?
Yes, and all it is taking.
Basically taking this.
Taking that.
With a few
and
changes.
all these things y'all did in
Okay.
Commissioner's Court.
Okay, now I understand.
I just made.
That's the first time I've laid eyes on a document typed with a typewriter.
1992.
Go out there and shoot it.
So I took this, and I added other things that y'all have added in Commissioner's Court, when you had problems with trailer parks and stuff. So this is everything that's on our books, and
I had seen all that other stuff, but I'd never seen this typewriter
and I
version.
put it all in one document. I didn't, because your secretary didn't go back that far. When you saw bits and pieces, that's what you said, you know, I saw
Yeah.
bits and pieces. She didn't go all the way back to 92. And I wouldn't have gone all the way back to 92 till I called Tom. And he said, Dan, you have to put something together for them to use it. 1992.
We did.
Thank you.
So then I said to Walt Sears, and that's when he said the difference is, I said, just break it down and tell us what we've got to do to make ours work. And he said, you got to do 3 things. So to me, it's pretty simple. And then if y'all want to change anything about the roads, we could have a simple document. To me, that's all you want is a simple document that people come in here can abide by it easily and have good subdivisions easily. To me, that's a win-win situation for everybody.
What we were telling these people that do the subdivision, if it was a county road, I was there inspecting it the whole time.
Exactly.
If it wasn't a county road, it was a private road, we can give them specs. We can't tell them they got to, if they want to build a concrete road, that's fine. But, you know, it's a private road, and we really don't have any say-so over it.
Well,
Private.
the one thing I do ask them is when they ask me about regulations and all that, I tell them this, and I say, if it at some point in time,
Plan the county taking it over.
they plan on the county taking it over, it's got to be.
The issue with that is they may never plan on the county taking it over, but then when all their subdivision gets full of homeowners and that developer's out of the picture, those homeowners don't want to take care of that road. That's when they want the county
Well,
to take it over.
I've got a situation like that right now.
That's the issue. So to me, to put something in there that all roads, if you're going to sell,
And that's what we talked about at our last meeting.
If you're going to sell property, then I think you can say something about the
I
roads.
don't know if we can tell them or not, if that's a gated community, and tell them how to set their standards.
You're telling them how to set all their
We
other
can.
standards?
We haven't been, but we
It's gonna have
can.
ambulances and trash trucks and fire engines going in there. Those roads have to be built to help hold it up. I think that may extend to a parking lot if somebody was gonna build an apartment complex out in the county. It's gonna have to, those are gonna have to be built to a standard.
I'm just saying, we need to do some checking, because I was basically told back then, if that's a gated community, private, They
Tell them what
have dirt
else they
roads.
have to do, so I don't see any difference in the roads. To me, that's just as important as a septic. Because that's what you got happening in
I'm
our
gonna tell you what
county.
people tell me. We live in the country, and we don't want all these rules and regulations. I said, but you've got to have some operations.
But they don't want lousy roads either, and they don't
No.
want sewage in their yard, so
And
it,
she'll tell you this, you build a subdivision, you build good roads, you sell everything in there. People will go, they will buy one in a,
Yeah, but
they
you
got
have
to
your
outside
developers
town.
trying to do it on the
Yeah.
shoestring.
They
I
called
just
me
think
about
y'all
that.
have to have the basics.
And I told them, I said,
Where you can tell them.
I just,
It's not
A
a-
private road has to have this. So if y'all are gonna take it over later, at least you know the
we
basics.
were told in
of it.
'92, we didn't have the authority to tell gated community what to do. That's theirs.
Let's use another example. And one I have, the guy, a farmer built a road. Then he built a house that on the way off the county road, a private road. He built another house. It's another house, 3 or 4 houses on. They said, you need to, this is a county road. I said, no, I can't make it a county road unless it meets the standard. In other words, it wasn't a developer that did it. It was just a farmer that did it. Now,
on his own property,
Right,
no
so-
subdivision.
That's right, so he could do it, so he didn't go through the subdividing process. And I think that's probably the difference between a guy applying for a subdivision, we can give him some rules.
Yeah. But what about that guy? What would you do?
So he
Well,
didn't
he
ask
was
for that.
illegally doing a subdivision, if you ask me, unless those are family members. If he starts splitting up his property and sells, and puts those houses in there, then that's a subdivision.
And according to
Well, I
the
wouldn't-
water code, even if it's family, it's still subdivision.
Well, I've sold some property and the guy put a trailer house in, so I guess I've.
No. You put a road through there and put a bunch of other property. One piece of property, somebody puts a mobile on it, that's not a
I thought about
subdivision.
putting another.
It is.
It is a subdivision.
That would be-
Definition of a subdivision is taking a whole and dividing it into 2 or more parts.
Well, he just said he sold one piece of property.
One big piece of property and put a trailer park.
No.
But what, he's not splitting it. What if you just bought?
You just sold one piece of property and somebody put a house on it.
If you take a piece out of another piece, what have you got?
But what if it's not out, what if it's not out of another piece?
You got 2, that's just a subdivision.
What if somebody owns 10 acres out there that's not attached to anything else, and they decide, you know what, this has been in my family, I'm gonna sell it. They sell it to me, that 10-acre tract, or let's call it 5 acres, and I decide to put a trailer on it. What makes that a
If
subdivision?
they sell you the whole,
The whole is what we're talking about.
that's not. But if he owns 20 acres and he sells.
That I totally agree with.
That is a subdivision.
That I agree with.
Right.
But you do have the situation where somebody could buy a whole 5 acres and put a house on it with a 300-yard
In
road.
285 of the Texas Administrative Code, unless you got over, I believe it's 300 acres to begin with, and then divide off into 5 acre, if they give a minimum of 5 acre tracts to a family member, it's got to be subdivided,
Unless it's a family member.
unless it's a family member.
Is that state law?
That's
285 Texas
Well,
Administrative
let me tell you the problems I'm getting into.
But you get into
We've got this developer, you know who he is, Peninsula. He's coming in there and building roads, and he built them for our specs, but our roads is probably minimal. We've got 6 inches, probably need 8 inches of base, so
Which is
maybe
what y'all
10.
need to change on this.
And those are some things we do need to change, I understand that.
Yes.
But what he's telling the people that's building in there, well, it's built to county specs. That's all I have to build it by. No, and I tell them, I said, it's a private road. I don't go in there with my equipment. I don't go in there with any of my trucks. I drive in there with my personal truck.
That
And look
would
at stuff. But before we take that road, we're gonna core it. We're gonna look at it. We're gonna make sure the drainage is properly. I can't go in there and tell a private developer what he can do.
Yes, you
what he
can. That's what you're doing with your restrictions, and that's my point. If y'all don't want them selling homes,
This feature of Roto Voice needs accessibility turned on to work properly.
it's
You
not
must enable Roto Voice and
if you don't want that developer lying to those people and telling them anything he wants to tell them, then you've got to put it in here. so he can't do
And who's
that.
the gatekeeper? If we have that set of plans there, what prevents that guy operating out there in the far corner of the county from doing what he's talking
That's the
about?
problem. There's no enforcement.
Well, where is it going to get
We as
caught, though? A
commissioners-
surveyor, a banker?
The commissioner kind of.
I will know. In my precinct, I guarantee you, I'll
It's
know
in
who's
here.
developing.
He's got to abide by it.
Well,
That's why
I agree, he's got to
I mean,
abide
tell
by
him
it.
how you want those roads
But I'm just
to be.
wondering if there's an automatic catch where somebody's going to go, whoa, stop, you're doing something here that falls under the new subdivision regulations from
Water and sewer.
2015.
He has control.
The thing about it, when they come in to get a water meter,
What if it's a well?
well, whether it's a well or not, when they get service, whoever they go through, Bowie Cass or Swepco, whoever, they need to send them something stating that before any of that's done, there's got to be regulations. I have people call me, trailer parks,
So we need to put this responsibility on Bowie Cass?
Well, no. It already is on Bowie Cass. But I have, mobile home manufacturers call me, or even banks. They'll send a letter to me. If there's going to be a trailer house put up, and it's going to the bank, the insurance, or they will contact me, find out, is it water available? Is there?
They know to call the commission.
They know to
Here's the
call.
big question, is it in the floodplain?
That's right.
They're not gonna lend you any money.
Well, that's one of several questions,
But they do call me and ask me, is there water available, electricity, road, or road into it? It's right off the county road, and I say
That's why the
yes.
surveyors are a good stopping point. If somebody's going to survey an acre off, 2 acres off, 3 acres off, and a surveyor would have our restrictions.
So
And
if
that's
we
stopping
go
them.
have a
They
face-
say, hey, y'all can't, this isn't going to work, y'all can't do this.
if we find out who the surveyors are serving our community, and there's not that many, you've got Denny and you've got them and maybe there's a couple more. Huh?
You don't have very many. You've got a handful.
So if you went down and explained to them, hey, we have a new document here, and we're hoping that you will
You don't
help
have to
us.
explain anything, just give it to them and say, these are your new restrictions.
They already have that.
They've already got the one Hampton's they've been using
They got-
Hampton since
they got
92.
But has it prevented substandard developments from going in?
Well, the things it addresses, it does, but it doesn't address everything.
There's some, take for instance back, over there where some Al's roads, I can't remember where it's at, Northwest 1.
Yeah, Ford, and then,
Yeah, I mean, right there, they went in there and made a subdivision, and I guess it's a subdivision, it was county road put through there. Anyway, grade is up here, they live down here. And I remember when Bob Fitch was in there, they'd call him every spring. Well, it won't drain. Well, no, it's not gonna drain, you can't make water go uphill. But they'd hound you to death. But people would put them in those flats out there. Like Mike said, we had floodplain maps supposed to be made up, and they're supposed to go through that. If they've got a place in the floodplain, they're not supposed to buy it or sublet or build.
Bank's not gonna let you borrow.
But they're not gonna let you borrow the money if that's where it's at. So, but the thing about it is,
Spanish lives
I haven't had but 2 or 3 call me on mobile homes, that's gonna go in. And it's surprising, but we don't have, they asked me about the restrictions and stuff. There's lots of them I didn't know of. And I said, we don't have them, which we didn't at the time. So,
Well, apparently we did.
apparently we did. I didn't know about that,
Yeah.
that 92 version.
So the trick here is going to be make sure the proper authorities understand this.
Which would be.
We all need to understand, but it'll be so much better when you've got a document and not a hodgepodge of
Right.
additions over the
Right.
year. This is the official, until it's changed, this is the official set of regulations.
The thing about it is you have those few that will check on this, but there's some that won't.
Well, they're gonna have to be shut down when they try to get septics.
Well, when they try to get septic, get electric or water.
Water, yeah, they're gonna.
Well, the only way you're gonna be able to do this is this person right here, because he's gonna be dealing with the septic system and have a checklist.
Well, you're gonna have some Hispanics to know.
That's what I was fixing to say.
They're gonna put pipes out on the ground and stuff, so
I got it
if
developed
they're gonna
right now.
disobey, they're gonna disobey, you know?
I went over there, and it's full of Spanish people. The guy bought the land, private road, and there's holes over there that big and that deep. And I go over there, and they're coming at me every direction. And I said, that guy right there sold you this property. He is responsible. He's got his house right there. He's the one that said, well, it's supposed to be a county road. I said, it's never been. But he builds it, or do y'all build it? It's none of my business. That road is your road.
Well, then it'll never get done, and
And
that's
it'll
That's
never
right.
be a county
That's
road
right.
till you meet my specs, or the county specs.
Which is why we need to start out with our specs in the subdivision regulations.
And we may not catch 100% of the new construction or the subdivisions.
There's always gonna be people who.
But we're gonna catch more than we are now.
Leaving it up to on-site, 9 out of 10 times, we're gonna be catching it.
At the end.
After the cows done got it.
Here's the one thing we asked to do, and I'm not sure SWEPCO, Bowie County, Wood County, all of them are doing it now. We asked them, anytime they put a meter in, please notify us where we can
And
find.
2 years ago, I remember getting a few of those. I haven't seen one of those in a while.
Carolyn usually sends them to me, we're not getting this many. The thing is, and that's Tri-Suds, they contact me to approve each meeting. They don't actually have to. Glad they are.
Yeah.
The electrical is required to. The thing is, though, their notice comes in, and unless you got GPS with you, you're not going to find it. Because instead of giving you addresses, they're going to give you phone numbers and GPS coordinates.
Why can't you find it with a GPS coordinate?
Well, I would be searching for that stuff all day, and I do with some of them.
On the GPS
he can-
numbers, which I've had problems with them too, they change. Because you may be able to be within 19 foot of a point, 19 to 20 foot accuracy on a point. But there's times I'd called some in one time, they said, well, this is not in your area, this is in Arkansas. I'm thinking, well, that's what was on my GPS. It's depending on the satellite.
Well, they gotta get a 911 address.
Well, that's true, but sometimes they do that after the fact.
We've got,
It's too late to catch them.
Philip and I was talking about a minute ago. I found a new road. Well, it's not a new road, because there's a brick house that's been built on
Well,
it.
that road's about 20 years old.
I'm saying, I heard that brick house was 30 years old.
The man that built it, he was wanting it to be a county road. And he had the old, just this piece of paper here. But he never did follow through with all the paperwork. It's just iron ore now. There's no old dirt on it. And he done moved off to California. So he may be passed
Judge,
away by
used
now.
to, you had a law that said if that road was, say, you have a road on your property, you got 100 acres, you got a road that cuts through it. Used to, if she left the gate open, the public used it, after 10 years, that was considered a public road. Those laws, that was all done away with.
Right.
It's no longer that fact. You got to build it. If you don't bring it to the courthouse to show the road you're building, and how you're building it, and the design on it, we do not, it's never becomes a county road.
I think you're always gonna have shysters and scam artists. I mean, there's
We're gonna
nothing-
do the best we can to get the word out.
That's
That's
all.
right, I agree.
Is to
We
set
can't
some
fix
regulations
it.
in place that
but
are
to
easy
set-
to read, easy to go by, and that everybody's got in them what they want in them for our county, and give it to, to the people who are trying to
Us,
make
and
things right.
two, developers can really help in this too. You see stuff going on out there.
Oh, yeah,
Well, you let the
can tell.
realtors know,
Yeah.
you let the utilities know.
right.
Me and him have to work together on this.
Right.
If there's a new house, I'm going to know if there's a new house out there being built somewhere. And a lot of times it may be back down in the woods and stuff, but I can drive down in there with
my personal truck to go and talk to people, and I have.
Well, we'd sure like to catch them before that house is
Sure.
already under construction.
That before,
But these again are the cultural differences that you will run into more than before, because they're used to living differently where they're from, and so we've got these cultural
We had a
differences.
front
Substandard's
house
okay
out on
now.
1200 that the guy pulled in back of his house he had. Was that trailer house? You went out there and wrote him a ticket, told him either get it moved
Or get fixed.
or get it fixed.
Yeah. And they did.
They have no
They
concept,
put in a
of they're from a
separate
different
system.
culture.
they a different culture.
They put their own in?
He takes
So he checks it. The sewage system, he has a fire.
Does E-Tex let you know, or Jackson, when they're putting something in?
Well, see, right now, that's part of the reason we need to change our on-site orders. Right now, if it's over 10 acres, there's not an existing system on the property, they don't have to
You
do
don't have
permit.
to have it.
And,
You don't have to have his
Right.
inspection.
but I'm proposing that they do, and I went over it.
A lot of them just put lateral lines in.
Well, what they do, yeah, and where I am able to get on those that do that, even now, is if it's, like it's been posted up flat down there off 1140,
You got trouble.
1220, it ain't gonna work. And the roading system's not gonna work that
No
good.
gravity pulling in
Well,
anyway.
it's a
just a
swamp.
hole.
It's a swamp. It's,
Well,
there's
there's a house in Marshall Springs, you go a foot deep, you gonna get water.
Yeah, that's right, I house over there, we've taken calls that before, that except for maybe late July and August, there is water standing in the yard all year long. It was wet during the drought because it is a swamp.
On our county roads, we have to take French drains to keep our roads. I mean, you're not looking at the foot that you hit the spring water. It's just bad, so I don't know how to build houses.
This, I haven't looked at what Al's presented to us this morning, but I know he took what I presented, and, all of ours together on the 12 pages I had. I know he started with that and added to it. Is that
I
what
might,
you did?
yeah, I left, but I might have left it, so I didn't have it, well, maybe I kept reading.
Is that the one you're calling revised original Titus County? That's what you produced.
And I haven't looked at it.
And then but I want to tell you, this is a question, and we have a situation now, 1330, and you're right, I don't know what it is, 1540, like curve. This guy's got it under construction out there. A lot of, I mean, he's setting out there trailer houses. I mean, they're all junky.
Well, you've got two pieces of property there. You've got this Hispanic gentleman just built a new brick home, and he decided, and then he's let a niece move in a trailer house there that I'm fixing to have a meeting with him about. That is bringing a bunch of junk cars. On the next piece of property, you've got a licensed manufactured home, I guess you'd say retailer. Basically, it's like a used car settlement for manufactured homes.
He's
And
selling off that piece of property.
he's bringing them onto that property, and he's storing them there to be redone. So when he's redone one, he set it up for his daughter, and he's put in the system. It's on bar sand, they got about 12, 14 feet of sand into theirs. They're actually put in conventional systems, and they work properly. Because that's what's going in on where the brick house is, where that other trailer house is. But in the meantime, we've got these ugly trailer houses sitting there, and nothing being done to them.
All right, then,
Is there anything you can do on it?
Well, it says-
Story problem.
as we did these regulations, our old ones and stuff, it says subdivision, manufactured homes and mobile homes.
Right.
And it says, manufactured mobile home rental community, construction authorization. It said any person desired to create a manufactured home or mobile home rental community, including mobile home park, allowed to use an organized sewage disposal system unless located inside a municipality with an organized community disposal. I changed that. The same regulation will apply for these subdivisions and manufactured home and mobile homes. Home communities must obtain a construction
authorization from designated representative prior to commencing and continuing the construction of the community.
Well, they don't need that from the DR, they need that from the Commissioner's Court.
It says that-
That would be on an application, just like any other subdivision.
Okay, number 6, an application for manufactured home rental construction authorized shall submit to applicant in the designated representative containing information that is adequate. And it says you will have to have surface water, but you have to have a license. He has to have a license to be a remodeler, builder of mobile homes. Maybe he's doing that here later.
Right, and actually that guy is, because I checked into that. But,
Get that.
yeah, that guy is actually,
Yeah, I remember us talking about that.
yeah.
And I don't know if you run into this, but this is some other things that we're doing too. We come in there, because when we pass these rules and regulations and trying to not get in everybody's hair to the point where people say, I live in the country because I don't want all these rules and regulations. And I tell them, I said, well, you're going to have some rules and regulations because people will not abide by them if you don't. I had some people moving on a trailer house, and I said, you can't do that. Well, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use it to put storage.
That's the standard.
And then first thing you know, a year or two later, you see somebody coming out of the door.
They're storing somebody's furniture.
Storing people.
Part of the problem with how that's written in that existing chapter 7 of the on-site order on subdivisions, all of that comes out of, I believe, the occupation code. Why that's in occupation code, I don't really know what it is. But where I see a problem is, we're going to dictate that somebody can't live in a shoddy trailer house, but they can live in a shoddy house. That's what that document's saying. And to me, that's, well, we don't have to have it, because we've got chapter 321, chapter 343 of the Health and Safety Code, that 343 under public nuisance, basically if it's dilapidated, either by obsolescence or from disaster, all right, y'all got 30 days. This thing needs to be in shape where it needs to be gone. If it's not, you continue. Once they're convicted, if it's not gone, next time it's within 12 months, file is class B misdemeanor.
But you got to give them the due process. You got to go through the process.
To me, that was a problem that Wayne and I both, we took over the DR program, that we had that being in the on-site orders. All that on-site orders should read basically how this affidavit is. And I've provided it a little bit since I gave it to y'all last time. But it'll have basically what all boils down to. We're going to enforce 285, Texas Administrative Code, we're going to enforce the Water Code, 366, the Health and Safety Code. Then with these under Section 10, this, I mean, when I had spoke with Mike Price with TCEQ back, was that 2 months ago? I'm still waiting to hear back from him. I sent them a copy of our proposed planning procedures and the new on-site orders. And he kind of felt like the requiring the 1 acre minimum lot size of 1 acre.
See, we did a half
A
acre.
bit much.
He thought it was a bit much for the planning procedures, but you can do that in the on-site orders. And to me, I would agree with it on the backwards on that. But,
Well, we put in there a half acre.
No, we've been talking about an acre.
it needs to be a minimum of an acre. If it's on well, it's a minimum of an acre anyway. And I think whether they've got a well or their own improved water, it's just a minimum of 1 acre. And it needs to be 1 acre of usable property. So if they've got, an acre and a half with a 1 acre lake on it, they ain't got no plan.
Well, refresh my memory on this. How does this affect trailer park, somebody that wants to put in a trailer park. Didn't we say at our last meeting, this is effectively going to do away with trailer parks?
What I propose will, because I'm going, the way I have it written in here,
One dwelling per acre, period,
That's right.
whatever it is.
single-family dwelling, whether site built or manufactured housing, shall have individual OSSF. That's also going to do away with, like, putting, two trailer houses on one system. Each owner have its own individual OSSF. This does not eliminate the connection of a recreational vehicle or similar to a homeowner's OSSF for temporary use. You put in the RV for mother-in-law to live in because she's about to pass away. That type of situation. As long as it, understood that it's temporary. All platted or unplatted subdivisions of single-family dwellings that use individual OSSS for sewage disposal shall have individual lot, so that at least 1 acre of usable property. Usable property is less pools, ponds, lakes, and flood areas, and easements. All platted or unplatted subdivisions for manufactured housing communities shall have individual lot sizes for each manufactured home of 1 acre of usable property. Usable property is less ponds, lakes, and same thing. So basically,
House, trailer, doesn't matter.
that's right, there won't be trailer parks.
So it no longer becomes economical for somebody to do a trailer park, really.
Right. And I think when the orders were written back in the 90s or whenever it was, and it mentions specifically the half-acre lot sizing for the manufactured homes, I think it's actually what the intent was then. They just didn't get worded that way. They went on with how the wording was in 285 of the administrative code. And what ended up happening is if they got 10 acres, they can have 20 trailers, all trailers at one
That
end
was
of
the
their cities.
intent, to have that land, water, lakes and stuff that count as part of
Right.
floodplains. And that's not in there.
I think that was added.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the original 92.
No, that's what I'm saying, it wasn't in there.
Wasn't in there.
But our intent was, if you got 2 acres, you got 1.5 acre lake back there, it's not big enough.
Right.
So do we remove
We
all
didn't
that
say
stuff about trailer parks, essentially?
No, I mean, you're gonna leave part of it in there. As far as like the part that was in that document about the construction and stuff of it, I probably would.
Remove it or leave it?
I can move it. And the same way about having it, that it could only be worked on by
We
a,
remove that too?
I think I would that, or I'd talk with,
I put if it wasn't approved septic on site, somewhere in here, I meant to put in here that it would say, unless they were in a municipal, like they built one in the city, they hook on to the city sewer system.
Well, then it's governed by the city, it's out of our hands.
I've seen that somewhere, it's by,
well, that's part like, out there on 1402.
yeah.
The trailer park is on the west side of 1402. It is connected to city sewage. It has a tank.
Recently, or has been for a
It's
while?
always been, for 30 years, probably.
They had,
They got to get factory widening that road.
Yeah.
That's because it comes under
Went on the road.
under 1402.
But that is still, they're out of my jurisdiction as far as on-site, because they're not an on-site system. But you have a separate plan, or it would still have to be constructed. Where if you're planning procedure, if you're, the on-site workers, again, you can put in there whether it's, on, a municipal system or on-site that requires 1 acre lot size.
I think we should.
And that would be, unless it is actually within the incorporated limits of the city.
I've got
And then their
that.
planning procedures.
Well, I tried to write that in there somewhere.
Right.
When we go through it, I tried to write that in there. If it was in a incorporated city, I'm thinking about Talco. I don't know whether they got one or not, but I think they do.
Yes, Chaco has a municipal system.
And any other city might have, I'm not sure that we have.
Winfield does, Member Coves has got a giant self-contained deal that's overseen by TCEQ, and I'm glad.
Yeah. Well, that's what I,
They've got a trailer park, or what are you saying?
Miller's Cove has a, I guess you'd say a self-contained municipal septic system.
That's right.
That is, I don't know. if they-
Giant septic systems.
Yeah, and do they actually have a worker that maintains it?
Well, they have
Something, I guess.
somebody or something.
Yeah, I guess there's a lead, breach or whatever, but ultimately it is inspected by TCEQ, and it's not my baby, and I'm sure glad. Homeland had a similar system for a while, and they had sent me notification that they was going to shut it down.
Who is that?
Homeland. And they were going to they downsized so much it wasn't worth maintaining, so they're going to destroy it and then put in aerobic on-site systems. But the last time I know that, I don't think they've done either. I think they're still running, they're still operating theirs. But again, it's TCEQ's jurisdiction.
could I ask you, what would you recommend? Is it possible for us to take our things and try to put the changes in, like you said?
Probably what you want to do would be get y'all's orders. This new deal that she brought up, I had never seen that document before, so I don't know what's all in it. I feel like it's probably going to be pretty close to what Chapter 7 of the existing on-site orders have in it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I would look up.
Do you have a copy of that?
Yes.
Well, you want to just start with on-site sewage and see what we need to revise here?
And pretty much all of it. The first, like, 6 chapters.
What document is that right there?
That's our current on-site orders. This was done in, originally done in 89, I think, or 90, something like that.
You made new ones? No.
That's what this is.
Okay.
Why can't we just put in the subdivision regulations that it requires a septic that follows the guidelines and refer to that, so that then they're dealing directly with him and getting his rules and regulations, and they make sure they're doing it right? Why do we have to put all those pages or all of that inside our document? Why can't
Well,
we
it could
do
be
that?
an exhibit, whatever the word is, addendum, exhibit.
That's what you call it, road deal?
I don't remember, I was just,
But it could be, I understand, that they don't follow the guidelines as stated in the such and such.
But I still think you ought to have a document that's got all that, not when you come to that, well, wonder what those regulations are, where do I
Well,
get them?
they just call a septic person.
Well, we have
All the people that put in the septics know the guidelines you're supposed to.
we have a
Are
city.
you called to get what we used to call a perk test?
Wait a minute. This is an affidavit and all that stuff, and that's part of this 12 parts now. What did I do? The new one, the revised. I've got it in there. Some of that's in there. Some of this on page 6. I bet you, I think we could write this in there without it being, it wouldn't be a big thing.
Well, what it'll be is, all on-site systems, they're going to have to be installed in accordance with 285 Texas Administrative Code and Titus County local orders, which will be that.
Right.
Because what these are, we have to enforce 285. We don't have a choice, we got to do it. But we can't make any regulations that are going to be less strict, less strong.
Mm-hmm.
So we can make it strong. And that's what I've done in that. And, because requiring, single-family dwellings to each one be on its own system, I think that's reasonable. When you get into someone building an apartment complex, you're going to be hard pressed to be able to do that. I But it would be more customary to have them on joint systems. You know, as long as it meets the size requirements. But where you have a 40-unit apartment, it's not going to be built a half acre or an acre. It's going to be on 4 acres. Keep the land size the same. That way you're spread.
Yeah, you can do a 12-unit apartment, but you gotta have 12
You gotta
acres.
have 12 acres.
Wow.
And that may be a little bit overstepping, but I don't know how to go around to come up with an easy to go by formula to make sure that they've got enough application area.
Are you familiar with the, what do you call that? 1612 or 1312? On 271, they built some condos in there.
Don Alexander's,
Yes.
Don Alexander.
senior
And we have-
condos for Don.
We have an absolute sewer mud hole in the back.
They're not on city out there?
No.
No, they need
I
to.
thought they
City,
were.
it's pitiful. It's pitiful. Yeah.
Well, can it be tied into the city now?
It's been annexed?
I don't think I think it still cuts around behind
It
it.
kind of goes around behind, it kind of depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the north side of that new road, so maybe it is. And what's the problem out there? Just
I
the,
don't know. It's on the south side.
No, it's on the south side of that new road.
South side of the new road, but it's on
But-
the west and
Right.
west side of the existing road.
The existing road there, it had.
The original
west
road.
side of the existing road.
Yeah, the original road.
Yeah, the curve back behind it.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. Then you can talk to somebody else and see.
So is that just a classic case of overload on acreage, or what's the problem out
Well,
there?
that is, the spray area is down in a hole. What's wrong, what I run into, which I'm going to talk to CQ to really find out for sure how big the world of hurt it's going to be. There's 10 or 11 units, I think. Part of those have been sold. They're on joint septic systems. That would make a cluster system. By TCEQ guidelines, by 285 today, that's illegal.
But it was legal when you put them in. Not sure even of that.
By my calculations, no, it wasn't.
No, it has to be all,
Each one of them would have had to have been on its own system, and each one of them apartments would have part of that land to the back of it. If they would be rental property, yes, it would be perfectly legal. But by having individual owners,
It's now individual.
Because what, they're spraying into common area or something?
yeah, you got, I think you got 2 1,500-gallon per day systems. And I forgot the averages.
To serve all of those?
Serve all of those.
Wow.
Which probably based on the size of it, says something else going by the size of those when they was built. They probably queued out 240. And when it was constructed, I bet that they went by total number of bedrooms instead of saying individual homes, which would require 360 or 240 for each one. They're probably actually queuing 180 or 240 and built at 240, so.
What does 240 mean? 240 gallons per day was the calculation, times 10, 2,400, so they were below the 3,000.
Yeah, so they've got 2,500 gallon per day units, they've got plenty of road treatment, but you're getting into that concentrated area, spray area, and it's down the hole. And there's a draw that runs, looks to me like it runs right from 271 business, cuts through, goes under that road, comes down across that property, comes back into that road, and heads south.
Lake Tankersley, where we drink from.
Yeah.
Well, these new proposed regulations would prohibit another development like that, because we're saying 1 acre, 1 dwelling.
Right. Well, what you can get into for apartments, like if there's 10 units out there, they may have to be set on 10 acres.
That's what's the problem will be. Somebody go out there and buy 5 acres and put up 8.
I'm wondering if you
should write separate restrictions for multifamily.
Somewhere in there, I think I've got it in there.
Whatever you want, but not include them as a subdivision. That's
They are
multifamily.
subdivision. It's still going to be part of the plan.
I think I've added it in there where it's got to be in a municipality that has a sewer system, like Talco, Winfield. I didn't.
Oh, you
think about
can't put the
Winfield.
multifamily out in the county?
Yeah, 10 acres,
Okay.
10 apartments, 10 acres. Yeah, one per acre, one dwelling per acre.
Correct.
I guess it's a trailer park either, but.
Part of the reason why it also comes to that requirement, if we run into these houses where you got a 2,000 square foot home, typically be mom and dad, 2 kids, maybe 3 kids. And we'll have a group in there living hot bucket with 12 or 14 people. They're going to, the house was sized for a 500 gallon per day system, 5,854 square foot area spray field. Problem is though, they're running close to twice that through it. Okay, now then, that's on a half-acre lot. The house next to it's on a half-acre lot, it's doing the same thing. We got a family of 8 living behind them, everybody's on half-acre lots. They're all back up to each other, where all the septic systems at, in the backyard. So except for that 6-foot privacy fence, we've just got a big swamp back there. We require all of them to be on 1 acre. Because typically, most of these designers, if they design the requirement for the half-acre area is 5,854 square foot, they're going to put usually around 6,400 to 7,000 square foot per acre. I know if it was me, I'd put in an oversized pump and I'd have these spray heads all over my place. Keep my yard covered. Because even if you're only running 240 gallons a day, that's 240 gallons you've already used and you're not having to turn on water hose and spray.
Well, we can go on and on about what we wish we didn't have. We've got to start here.
Well, my concerns on this thing is to make sure that we're not going to be overreaching in what we're doing. I don't think we are on minimum lot size requirements.
You're comfortable with that 1 acre?
Hunt County went to minimum 1 acre for if it was on approved water, and I think 2 acres if it's on a well. County passed. Hunt County, I think that's.
Even if it's OSSF?
If it's OSSF, they're requiring it. Now, as far as if it's in the municipality or in an area where sewage extends.
Yeah, well, that's
We
different.
don't care about that.
Yeah. That's going to fall back on whatever the city. But if it's going to be serviced by on-site sewage, Hunt County is required 1 acre.
Well, help me understand the correlation of lot size with a well. Is that for
You gotta have-
water supply concerns or water waste?
It's cross-contamination.
Okay.
You can't have, none of your components can be within 100 feet of that well.
Okay. That just gives you more room to work around that well, so you're not contaminating that well.
And if it's a concrete pressure sealed well, you can be a little closer, but pretty much all designers, they do 100-foot setback, period.
Well, answer me this. The 1 acre, isn't it that if you're going to, say I was going to, my kids were going to get a trailer house, before they can go through the bank, they've got to have at least 1 acre before they'll lend them the money.
Usable 1 acre.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
why couldn't we do the same thing? I mean,
I
think we should.
I don't have any problem going with 1 acre. I think you're the one that needs to really look at that.
Yeah.
And you and I work together on this and kind of see what we need to do. You can get it too complex sometimes. You get it so complex when you get through, you don't know what you're doing. And you have to have a lawyer to tell you what's going on. But I think that's more in line with you know, the rules and regulations and things, that suggestion, because this is going to take care of the county for the next 20, 40 years, probably before somebody deals with it. We've had to deal with it
We're not
because
even here every other year having to redo this. Or maybe, you know,
Well, we've gone this long without doing anything. I mean, the only reason we're doing it is for Morris County.
yeah, they
Like,
probably should have.
Suggestion, let me redo these and revise them. I'll take, and then I'll mark it up. The old
Why
ones.
don't we work till noon and help you with some of this, especially while we've got Clint here?
And there's,
Well,
there's also going to be, because, and that's why part of why I wish TCEQ would have gotten back with me by now. Even in 285 of the administrative code, it talks about, well, where it says the minimum half acre lot requirement, they allow for the, I guess you'd say that the exclusion of that, or the exception of that, being if it's an existing small lot. And that's going to be lots that are...
Or you can call it the perk test or whatever. If it's clay there, I don't care what you put in.
Finish that train of thought.
Well, if it was a lot that was created prior to, I believe it's 2000, then, and let's say it's, you know, a third of an acre. Because it was planted prior to the rules being adopted.
That's a long time ago.
That's-
What if I bought me a lot 5 years
That's
ago
right.
thinking I'm getting ready to retire and I'm going to build me
That's
my
right.
home on 3/4 of
So
an acre?
we're probably going to have to continue to allow. for that.
Grandfather those people in.
That's right. If it was planted prior to,
Well, case by case.
or if it was planted prior to the adoption of these rules,
Yes.
which is going to allow, they've got 3/4 of an acre.
You're gonna have to grandfather all those
Yeah.
in that have already been
If
platted.
it's already planted, we're going to have to do that.
You can't-
I'm not sure if I've got it worded in there.
So don't say pre-2000, say pre-regulations.
Yes, yeah,
And-
Well,
platted. They,
Actually, well, and I've seen it worded in another document somewhere. You'll actually have to stipulate both. Because a 1/4 of an acre lot that was created prior to 2000,
So it used to be a 1/4 of an acre back then.
back then, it wasn't anything. It was state claim.
Okay, so if you've got a lot pre-regulations, then it's going to depend upon how far back to know
Exactly.
what's going to be okay. But if I just bought that half acre 5 years ago, you're going to tell me, sorry, that's
no.
Well, you're going to be okay because you're going to
well,
be
1/4 of an acre then.
1/4 acre. That's right. I had a family down the lake that got me last summer. 2 brothers. One of them had 2 acres up the road, the other brother had 1.5 acres. Out on the peninsula, lake frontage on 3 sides. And being the good brother he is, he gave half of his 1.5 acres to his brother.
Yeah, you told us
In
this.
exchange for that 2 acres. Now then, we got 2 3/4 of an acre tracts of land that were created in 2014 and can't nothing go on.
Because the state regs prevent it?
Well, right now they're meeting the half acre requirement, but the problem is tri-sud don't run down there, they'll have to be on a well, they got to be on the water.
And that's been the rule for how long?
Since,
A long time.
yeah, since 88.
A long time.
Yeah.
That's just a case of ignorance. We didn't know the
That's
law.
right. You know,
But some, the surveyor should have caught that. If they had that surveyed out and platted.
I agree.
I agree with what surveyors money to survey land, I'll tell you what you can and you will.
Well, but that's what they've been doing. I mean, Conley would have told them that. You're not gonna be able to get a septic
He
system
could have
here.
brought it up anyway, you know.
Yeah,
That's right. You could have, should have,
But didn't.
yeah.
that's right.
So you can't build on either one of those.
What's worse, he's got waterfront on 3 sides. When you get
That cuts it down.
That cuts it down. When he had an acre and a half, he probably still could have had it. But if we would have got him, the water district would, because he would have had, he just about would have had to have some.
And just because of the proximity of the water, making that full 1.5 acres really not a usable 1.5.
Exactly.
Because you've got to be so far back from the water's edge, or what's the
Well,
rule?
you gotta be, it's 50 foot from the 342 line, I believe.
Okay.
What's even sadder is he probably paid top dollar for that because it was on a peninsula.
Actually, it was from what I heard, it was family land.
Oh, okay.
And it had been divided up several times. He was giving this, and the other brother got more land, but up the road, but he wanted waterfront. I go get waterfront, thing. Go over RV out there, and spend the weekend and go home. That's about all you do.
Okay, well, let's,
I will tell you, I did get a phone call from someone about this 1 acre thing.
What?
I got a phone call from someone on this 1 acre thing.
well, we know it's going to make some folks
And
upset.
he chewed me out that all the commissioners were trying to put him out of business. And then his sister called me and chewed me out.
You're finding out what it's like, aren't you?
I told him it has nothing to do with you.
Well, this is the very
Nothing to do with
reason,
you.
when we set all this up, we went to the 1/2 acre, because we had people coming out and saying, well, you know, of course, what I know what they're trying to do, they're trying to make more money by putting more trailer houses or more homes on the 1/2 acre. And I understand what they're trying to do, but in the long term, is it good for the county?
I told them to be here today.
If they don't follow me around a little bit, I'll show them.
I told them to be here today. Neither one of them are here.
Well, that was a good idea.
This is
I did.
our problem we're getting into, because he's seeing more and more and more of this stuff. When you start seeing that sewage go down the creek and stuff, it makes you pretty upset.
Here again, it's a cultural difference.
Yeah.
And we're gonna, until something's done about that, we're gonna see more of it.
That is the bulk of it. We've got trailer parks that are multi-coat, and we still got problems. We've got one that all told is on about 20 acres, but you've got 30 trailers separated by maybe 15 feet each. People can't live on top of each other like that. And, you know, because the first thing they're going to do, they're going to build a dog in between the 2 front houses. They're on electric systems where you got like 1,000 gallon per day system, maybe when they put in probably 5 or 6 trailer houses. When that system goes down, you don't have one house there, you've got 6 of them.
Yeah.
Well, are you guys prepared to stick to your guns on this 1 acre?
I don't have a bit of problem with it.
Okay.
And, you too, you got,
I don't got no problem with the 1 acre. I mean, and like what Clint said, I mean, I've got it out there where I'm at right now. But it's about 12 acres where they're at now, but it started off a little old house. Well, they added one here, added one here, added one here. And there are about 4 of them within an area about this size right here. And I know they're on just one septic system. But
you know,
the
that
1 acre is gonna be, I think, will be fine. Usable acre, 1 usable acre.
you know, my place over there where the barn is,
Yeah.
you know that trailer they got back there?
I think that's a good word to put in there,
1 usable acre.
because if it's got a pond or something like that on it, I mean, you've taken,
Yeah, that's his intention.
so I think a 1 usable acre is a good word to
Usable acre.
use.
Counties in the onsite orders, the most recent draft that I gave you. I said, to me, what we need is something in these places to consider on here or that. Being that, and like I said, it kind of goes on what we talked about earlier. Because of how convoluted Hopkins County's orders are, but they're also explaining what the intention to it is. My question and me and Eric Dan talked about it, because when I pointed out that the water code stated one thing, and they're wanting us to do something, but yet the government code is giving us this exemption to it. Which one trumps the other? See, because in the government code, it says that a county cannot require a subdivision to be platted if the tracts are larger than 10 acres. To me, we ought to be able to require it to be platted no matter what size they are.
I encourage people that come out there, that's, well, I got more than 10 acres, but I said, I would call the sheriff's department, get y'all to come out there and look and recommend things that y'all need to do. Hey, if I'm going to spend that kind of money and build a home there, I want to do it right.
I can tell you that I've had people buy enough lots so they're over the 10-acre limit.
Yes.
So they can put in a lateral line septic. I'm thinking, what's the money you had to spend to buy all those lots?
Yeah, you could have had this.
Well, I had one guy told me.
But they're just dead set against aerobics, and they're gonna buy what they gotta have so they can do their own lateral lines, I guess. Do their own, I guess, maybe that's the option. But I'll admit these aerobic systems are a pain in the butt. They're constantly, the aerator's going out, something is going, they're constantly a problem. I agree, but, that's where we are now. You move forward. Even though it doesn't feel like you're moving forward.
If I could get a copy of those, that 3 things that Walt told you to get.
Yep.
I would make sure that I get it in.
He told me we had to delete our punishments, that we couldn't put those in there.
I got rid of that. I got rid of that.
He says you gotta have water for the subdivision adequately procured before the lots are sold.
Water secured, I think.
Adequately procured is what he said.
Okay.
Before the lots are sold.
I don't know about that. What
You
else?
gotta have a sanitary way of getting rid of waste, so you've gotta follow whatever the state guidelines are. And he said a minimum of ½ acre, but we're gonna do away with that. And then he says your drainage has got to be addressed. And he's got
Like
Article
that.
3 in his,
It's got.
and Article 3 is what he used as his example of that in his Morris County subdivision.
I can see where the county's involved in drainage on the roads and stuff, but I don't see where we can control anything outside that boundary.
And he says that the commissioners can waive any rule for any adequate showing.
We have
I guess that means if somebody comes to you, y'all can waive anything
You
you
can
want
make an
waived for 'em.
exception.
Make an exception.
Yes.
on the application, it says, a map locating surface water, watersheds, floodplains, existing and proposed individual public water supply, wells, and existing organized. That's on the application, that's gotta be on the application.
And that's another way for
What
this,
page was that?
for this to get out.
Application is.
If they go to get the application
They
for
go out
the,
to application.
the floodplain and all that,
Yeah.
if they buy in a floodplain, well, none of this.
Take care of it,
Well, the application water subdivided to fill out. And part of his, when he submits his application and all of his stuff to y'all, he's going to have the overall site evaluation for the entire property. Then as the lots are sold, it'll be site evaluation done all over again. The individual lots and on-site stuff.
What do you want to try to accomplish here while we're still here?
Just what we can get out of this thing, this affidavit for the septic system, he can send me that, I can get that in there. I think I can. I think I can get it in there, and I think I can get it.
Just the affidavit or that whole multi-page?
That's the affidavit, yeah, 6 pages. This is an old set that he sent me out. He's got a,
Yeah,
Do you want to make that a part of our document or just make a reference to
No,
it?
I think they make it.
I agree.
We can make it part of your.
This is what I'm submitting that we need to go for on-site orders.
I don't think an application ought to be part of the restrictions. You can just say, it must be accompanied by an application, and then the county clerk can hand them their application or something like that.
Application, yeah, the affidavit.
I'm just trying to get these restrictions down to a comfortable page level. I mean, we keep adding 6 pages here, 20 pages here. I mean, we're back up to something.
Well, would you rather it be small or complete?
I want it complete, but I mean, I'm just saying to me
If it's
that,
small, we can go to 8-size font.
yeah.
Fix it down. We have to have a magnifying glass.
In other words, you'd rather send them to another place to get the additional verbiage that
Must be
included.
accompanied by the
Affidavit from the.
something application, and then when the county clerk will say, and you'll have to have this application. Here's our subdivision regulations.
Well,
and
it's
you'll
not
have to
very
fill out
long.
This application, and to me, 2 separate documents are fine.
We'll do, we'll fill out that affidavit, and then, when it gets to section 10, that'll be our amendments to it, and we'll send that to.
What do you mean when it gets to section 10?
Section 10.
What of that should be included or not included in our regulations?
Basically, in our regulations, it should mention that on-site or subdivisions require an on-site system. Basically, will have to be installed in accordance to 285 of the Texas Administrative Code and Titus County orders. And then this is going to be our amendments. This is basically our Titus County orders are going to be these amendments, and it'll be A through G. The I.
Which one is it? I got G to that.
I could be A through I. Yeah, I've got 2 that I added since we did that.
So you're going to get him the Word
Yes.
document that has this,
Yes,
so
sir.
he
I'll
can.
email him the latest and greatest.
So just this A through I is all that you think needs to be in here?
Well, that, and then it's going to be in accordance to 285 for the administrative.
Well, where is that verbiage?
That should be, I think it was like page 18 of that Hopkins County document, or the one that I did, that had the changes on it. It should be like a, yeah, I think that mess.
You said 18?
This. Yeah, should be, it'll be in with that stuff.
You,
Not all of it, just certain parts of that? Under that engineering guideline?
Subdivision single-family dwellings platted or created after the effective date of this section, certified public water supply using individual SSF for sewage disposal shall have lots of at least 1 acre of usable property. No easements, right-of-way, safe, except property. Lot size increase from TAC 284.4 facility planning requirement of a half acre to 1 acre to meet the more stringent rules adopted by the Titus County OSSF orders.
Well, I'm just trying to clarify this to help Al out.
Yeah. Actually, it'll pretty much be worded like it is on that page 18 of the orders, of the planning procedures I submitted.
I think you and Al need to work on this and get us a finished copy and come back. What we need to really look at is, do we want this standard for a cul-de-sac, or do we want this standard for a road?
all the
Or
roads, yeah.
what do we want?
I agree.
Well, you want to look at that, Al, and decide that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The cul-de-sac, to me, you got to have. This design makes me no different.
Right. I think we got that on.
Yeah, it's there.
Where we got it.
what's the width and so forth.
Do y'all have a copy of this Ward County Township minimum?
Yeah, we're gonna work that in somehow.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure it out.
But you like this diagram and,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
these measurements?
The thing about it is it's like the road we was talking about out on 1402. All it was this place scratched off and then iron ore put on it. There's no ditches, no nothing on it. And that's what, I'd seen that and I thought, well, it'll be the perfect diagram for anybody to see. We can put the numbers in there and what we wanted.
We did we did already, but can we legally, the rest of the commissioners take this
Have you
thing?
seen that?
Tell them what we penciled in. Can Mike do it, Parker, whatever, anybody wants to, let's see what we decide.
The thing about that,
As long as it's close to this design, because I know there's gonna be some figures changed.
there's gonna be some
Need to
figures
change.
changed, but like it says here, on our minimum road requirements,
Yeah,
you know, as far as the overall right-of-way, I think 60 foot would be fine. This is what we talked about the other day, Al.
let me get my.
Going to 60 instead of 50?
Yeah, go to 60.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that, and it
For the
needs to
simple
be there.
fact, like what Nick was saying, fire departments, stuff like that, need more room to get down.
You talking about specifically on cul-de-sacs or on the road itself?
Well, the road itself, but like on cul-de-sacs here, it says here, like cul-de-sac minimum right-of-way shall be 75 feet base radius. Well, let's see. This is where's the beginning of it. The minimum right-of-way on the cul-de-sac, it says shall be 50 feet, which I think in our old ones, it's 40.
It's 50.
Huh?
I got 60. Oh, I'm sorry, okay, what?
Old. 50.
No,
We need
see,
to-
right here,
Dead-end roads have a minimum 50 foot, these are the new ones now.
You got the
50 foot
new one?
easement with a minimum 20 foot surface and a 75 foot radius cul-de-sac at the end of the road.
right. Yeah.
You can
Well, that's
make
sure
it-
not what this
You got
shows.
small cars, small.
No, that's just I didn't have time to take the numbers out of that.
Okay, so you're just gonna change the
I'm just
numbers.
going to change the numbers on that. This won't be on there,
The radius is gonna be what?
the radius.
Well, that's diameter. Radius would just be
Radius
from
will
the
be from
center
the center
point out.
out.
But the diameter is gonna go to 75?
It says here the radius, base radius is 75 foot.
Well, there's no way. That's 150 feet. That can't be right.
You're right.
The radius would be 32 and a half or
Most
37
time
and
when
a
you have
half.
that radius down there, you're gonna have about 3 houses down there on that end. One here, one there, and one there.
I'm just saying they've used the wrong terminology. That a radius is just half the distance.
What, wait a minute, what
Should we say it's 75 feet?
Chief, every time you drive a farm truck around on
That's right.
75 foot radius.
You can.
You got 150 foot circle down on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's surely not what they meant, was it?
Surely not. This was one, and this come out of, was this the one we used out of Hopkins County? But that's what they
What
had.
should the wording, what the language should be? There should be a 50-foot radius?
Well, the radius is meant.
Radius is just from the center to the outside.
We want the full circle to be,
But this right here, now this,
One of these pumper trucks is what, 38 feet long, 36 foot long,
say 40 foot,
40 foot.
and they not easy.
You'd be pretty hard pressed to turn it around and 50 foot.
You may have to back up a couple of
I mean, if you only had 25 foot radius,
Yeah.
I mean, if you only had 50 foot right of way, I mean, you're not going to do it, so that 75 foot radius may not be as,
Bad as you think.
that's right, as unreasonable as we think. Plus, if we got somebody down there with 18 wheeler,
Yeah.
that would be able to get out.
that's a huge cul-de-sac, 150 foot
That's
diameter.
too much. Yeah.
On the 50 foot, the ones I've got, they're working fine for me.
That's
So
100
everyone,
foot, though. That's
But is that a 50-foot radius?
50 foot.
well,
With 100 foot?
radius, you're probably looking at 25.
That's too small.
That's too small.
Well, you got
Like I said,
50 foot across.
What about
all the way
50
around.
foot radius?
50-foot radius is gonna give you 100 foot.
That's 100.
That's too
100 foot,
much. Seems to
circle.
me.
Yeah,
You can't do it in 100 foot, you're in trouble. We don't, the road couldn't carry it.
So you want to go with what kind of a radius? In other words,
100 foot.
your center point to the edge is
Yeah,
what?
50 foot.
50 foot?
50 foot?
Yeah, just change 75 to 50, right?
Yeah.
That'd get it at the end of the road.
Gives you a 100-foot circle.
That's big enough, I can do that. I can turn around 100 foot.
All right,
Better than any
that's what I've seen you drive.
that's right.
You might bump into a few things.
I'm too busy.
When do you want to meet back on this while it's fresh?
Whenever Clint, I think Clint's the one, I'm about to bug. We've been talking, he did all this out of his time. So we, just whenever he's available.
We just need to make sure that we make those guidelines.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about. All three got those in there. Because I'm like the judge, there's a lot of money out there that can help these rural water supplies. And we have hard water here in Titus County mostly. You're gonna have to dig deep wells if you're gonna get good water. And most people can't afford that.
I think we can do it, and, well, I guess now, let me make sure, we're gonna try to take the old ones and fix them. Not use Hopkins County with the 1.2 megahertz or whatever.
And the primary things that you're going to leave here and go do, you're going to integrate the OSSF.
Right.
You're going to put documentation and specific specs for the roads, whether it's a cul-de-sac or just the road itself.
We thought we'd done that, but we'll do it, and then the mix now, we're gonna check on the mix, on the road, the depth.
Thickness and that
Yeah,
stuff.
you
I
want,
think we need to go to 8 inches on the base.
look at this, look at the ones that are
Oh,
revised,
okay.
and look at it, and anything you want.
Okay, so I hadn't had a chance to look at this.
Yeah,
one.
look at that
I'll
one
look at
on
it.
the mix, on the roads there. We thought we had all the roads changed.
Yeah.
Well, we changed some of them, but I could have made a mistake and then.
Now, let me go back, I'll go back and read this revised part.
Yeah. Look at that.
You've already got the changes in
On
there.
that class
You know
two,
what I know about roads.
on that class 2 road there, it said oil sand.
I worked on the road for
What are those different classes? What are those different classes?
Well, let's see, that's like on our here, we've got, a through road, we'll consider it a through road. Go from one into the other.
Worded.
That would be, say, a class 1 or class 2.
I don't know about all that.
But as far as classes, I mean, we should just stick with one.
Should have been,
Class 2, a class 1, they're asking for one course of asphalt.
Yeah, but what is that a lesser used road, higher the number,
Yeah.
the less it's used?
Yeah, that would be what they interpret, but what we thought about is
Some of these
just
developments
take off the class
come in, the road starts tearing up.
Just go
Well,
with
we
class
built to
two,
the county
which
spec.
are basically the
You build
same.
it to
The only
minimum
difference
county
is
spec.
they have,
You can build that
asphalt
road,
now.
whatever you want to. I told you from
we
Start.
haven't been doing none of that. so
that is
just go
y'all's
with
road.
this.
It's not the county road.
But right here,
For us to
in
take
ours-
it over, it's gonna have to meet this standard.
It says,
I had a tough time not discounting
well, anyway, it says use,
developers
oil sand.
because in my.
I have problems with oil sand because it doesn't bond, it doesn't set up.
Trying to tell us how to build a.
But instead of having oil
What do you
sand,
call
Right, they're not gonna benefit
Cold.
us, it's going to benefit them.
cold mix is what I would do.
Have a tough time.
Oil sand, it doesn't bond and it always
Let me tell you
constantly
something,
crawling. So that would be mine.
that's gonna be a problem.
Every developer that I've known that's went in there and done it right, so never locked a head like that.
Yeah.
Those that went in there and halfway went through it, people were a little bit scared of the roads, and it took them a while. They finally sold it. Now, Cypress Springs, they're just about done with lots, and we're getting more and more people coming from that area further down, get a lake lot.
Peninsula is a prime example.
That's
You
it.
look at it, that would be a beautiful place to be. That's the shoddiest bunch of roads. And, you know, and to me, I can understand if they want to build a real good road.
Cut this off.
Well, they're fighting him hard, because I'm an owner out there. I don't have anything built yet, but they're going to get those roads fixed.
Well, let me tell you this, I don't mind being on record.
Real close.
I talked to the Hire brothers and Joe and Mike and all, I know them well, and I've dealt with them on a lot of different things. But they suggested to dig out those soft spots and put in good base in there. A spot here, a spot there. They didn't want to spend money on it. Is what the Hire brothers told me.
Who did I give my Walt Sears letter to? Anybody?
I
I had highlighted it with those 6 items.
I'm just saying, when they're fixing these roads and they've been out there fixing them, they recommended to this owner,
I have a copy.
this owner
Letter
to
I'm listening
fix
to you.
those soft spots.
Yeah.
That was the time to do it, and they didn't do it. He said he didn't want to spend any more money.
I didn't give you my Walt Sears letter. I just wanted to be sure we go over again and agree that we've got to have in this document
Who had that?
those Walt Sears items.
I didn't keep it.
I don't even remember giving it to
Did you
anybody.
have it?
No, adjourn, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hinton, Commissioner Fields, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.